Take a look at that right there. This is a massive snake. Being very careful.
Snakes are among the world's most deadly creatures, capable of striking fear into even the bravest souls. Their lethal venom and lightning-fast strikes make every encounter a potential life-or-death situation. From monstrous pythons lurking in the shadows to venomous vipers hidden underfoot. These are not tales for the faint-hearted. Prepare yourself for the 20 deadliest snake encounters caught on camera. Number 20. Python bites Chinese tourist mid-kiss. Our first incident shows just how unpredictable animals can be, even in the most controlled environments. What could possibly go wrong when you try to kiss a python? Well, as one tourist in Thailand found out, a lot. During a zoo tour in Phuket back in 2016, a 29-year-old Chinese tourist made a daring and questionable choice trying to kiss a reticulated python. Now, some of us know that no matter how tame a snake might seem, they can still act wild. But this tourist seemed to miss the memo. As she leaned in to give the python a smooch, the snake had other plans. Instead of a gentle kiss, the python lashed out and bit her right in the face. Whether it was startled by the close encounter or simply didn't feel like playing along, the result was a pretty painful experience. The handlers acted quickly, managing to remove the snake from her face, but the damage was already done. The tourist suffered some serious injuries, but thankfully nothing life-threatening. In fact, the zoo ended up compensating her with around $3,700 to cover her medical expenses. Think kissing a python is wild? Our next scene is a man wrestling one with his bare hands. Number 19. Outmaneuvering the Wrangler. As one of the largest and most feared snakes on Earth, the Burmese python never fails to surprise, but this clip will leave you questioning everything. These snakes don't rely on venom. Their powerful bites and ability to suffocate prey make them a nightmare to encounter in the wild. Recently, these massive snakes have been making waves in the United States, particularly in the Florida Everglades, where they've become more prominent over the years. In this intense encounter, a man found himself up against a massive Burmese python near a sidewalk in Florida. Without hesitation, he managed to grab the snake by its head, showing off some impressive skills. But catching the snake was only half the battle. The python immediately began wrapping itself around him, squeezing tightly in an attempt to crush him. Despite the terrifying situation, the man stayed calm, and with help from people nearby, he fought off the python's deadly grip. It was a close call, but thanks to quick thinking and teamwork, he walked away unharmed. This just goes to show that even the most dangerous predators can be outmaneuvered with the right combination of skill and courage. But snakes don't just lurk in the wild, sometimes they invade the most unexpected places. Number 18. Huge python grabs Thai woman in the kitchen. Preparing to wash her dishes, a woman's routine was shattered by something far more dangerous than a kitchen accident. Without warning, Arom Aranroj felt a sharp bite on her thigh. Looking down, she found herself face to face with a massive python that had latched onto her and began coiling around her body. The snake, measuring between 13 and 16 feet long, wrapped itself tightly around Arom's torso, squeezing her to the floor of her kitchen. Struggling for breath and desperate, she tried grabbing the python's head, but it only tightened its grip further. For nearly 2 hours, Aram was trapped in the snake's deadly embrace, unable to free herself and barely able to call for help. Her cries eventually reached a neighbor passing by, who quickly alerted the authorities. When the police and animal control arrived, they found Aram pale and exhausted, the python still constricting her. It took multiple officers using a crowbar to strike the python on the head before it finally released its grip and slithered away. Fortunately, Aram survived the ordeal with only a few bites and was able to share her terrifying experience with the media shortly afterward. If you thought that was intense, wait until you hear about how a cobra interrupted dinner preparations. Number 17. Cobra attack while cooking. It's rare for a routine dinner prep to turn into a struggle for survival, but not impossible. On September 7, 2023, a woman in Thailand was cooking outside her family home when the unexpected occurred. While stirring a cooking pan full of durian, a deadly 12-foot king cobra silently slithered across the driveway. The CCTV footage shows the massive black snake gliding towards her, completely unnoticed. Without warning, the cobra moved between her legs, rearing up and flaring its hood. In a terrifying moment, it struck at her leg, coming just inches away from sinking its venomous fangs into her. With enough venom to kill a human within an hour, this encounter could have easily turned fatal. Fortunately, she escaped unharmed, but this close call reminds us of how dangerous these snakes can be. Escaping a cobra's strike is harrowing, but imagine a venomous snake targeting a child. Number 16. Venomous snake attacks little girl. Australia is no stranger to venomous snakes, but what happens when one comes dangerously close to a child? In 2020, a terrifying moment unfolded when an eastern brown snake, a species known for its deadly venom, decided to make an appearance that left a family in Queensland shaken. The footage shows a little girl, her mother and her sister stepping outside to do laundry. Everything seemed normal until, out of nowhere, the snake lunged right as the mother was locking the door. Chaos erupted as the mother, in a burst of quick thinking, threw aside the plastic bag of clothes she was holding and shoved the cloth drying rack out of the way. She then scooped up her daughters, carrying them swiftly to safety. It was far from a smooth escape, but eventually she managed to usher them to safety. Fortunately, everyone was safe, but this close call with one of Australia's deadliest snakes is something they won't forget anytime soon. Think you're safe indoors? Our next story might make you think twice. Number 15. Going number 2. Encountering a snake in the wild is one thing, but what if it appeared in the very place where you felt the safest and could be vulnerable? This nightmare became a startling reality for a woman in Tucson, Arizona. After returning from vacation, she discovered an unexpected guest, a black viper, coiled up in her toilet bowl. What would be anyone's worst fear was her reality, but fortunately she spotted the snake before sitting down. She quickly contacted a local exterminator who safely removed the snake from her home. The incident quickly went viral as the woman filmed the alarming scene on her phone and shared the video online. So next time you go to use the bathroom, you might want to double-check the bowl first. You never know what could be lurking. If that gave you the creeps, wait until you hear about a snake invading someone's bedroom. Number 14. The stuff of nightmares. Waking up to a snake crawling toward your bed sounds like something out of a horror movie, but for one elderly woman in Thailand, it was all too real. In 2019, while she was peacefully sleeping, a snake somehow slithered its way into her room and headed straight for her bed. Luckily, she woke up just in time to notice the slithering intruder before it was too late. Acting on instinct, she tossed aside her pillow and jumped into action. A tense standoff followed as she held the snake at bay and called for help. Shortly after, experts arrived to safely capture the snake and remove it from her home. The ordeal was undoubtedly terrifying, but her quick reflexes likely prevented a far more dangerous encounter. For most of us, an experience like this would send us running from the house forever, but she faced it head-on like a seasoned pro. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse, someone decides to taunt a snake and pays the price. Number 13. Man tests a snake and regrets it. If there's one thing snakes have taught us, it's that getting too close is a risk not worth taking. Unfortunately, this guy didn't get the memo. In a video that went viral, a man thought it would be fun to play around with a python. What started as a casual interaction quickly turned into a painful lesson. The man seemed overly confident, repeatedly handling the snake and even bringing it dangerously close to his face, likely aiming to impress viewers or show off his handling skills. But the python wasn't in the mood for games. As soon as it had the chance, it lunged forward and bit him square on the head. That'll teach him not to push his luck with a snake. Thankfully, the python wasn't venomous, so there was no serious risk involved, but a bite like that still packs a punch. Safe to say, this guy probably won't be taunting any more snakes after that painful encounter. But not every snake encounter is intentional. Some happen when you least expect it, like at a party. Number 12. Snake interrupts a drinking session. Imagine you're out with your buddies, enjoying a relaxing evening with drinks and food, when suddenly an unexpected guest slithers in. That's exactly what happened to a group of drinking buddies years ago, and it was all caught on CCTV. What interrupted their fun wasn't another friend showing up late, it was something far more dangerous. As the group sat around, laughing and chatting, a striped snake slithered right into the middle of their gathering. Lucky for them, one of the guys decided to stretch his legs and, just in time, noticed the snake almost at his feet. Talk about a close call. In a stroke of luck, the group reacted quickly, moving out of harm's way before the snake could strike. Even the snake seemed startled, and with a bit of commotion, they managed to chase it off. No one was hurt, but their relaxing evening definitely turned into a story they'll be telling for years. Just goes to show, you never know when danger might strike, even during a casual night out with friends. Number 11. Robert Irwin gets bitten in the face. What happens when a wildlife expert gets a little too comfortable with a snake? Well, Robert Irwin found out the hard way. In 2021, Robert, son of the legendary Steve Irwin, was interacting with a large python when things took a sharp turn, literally. Robert, following in his father's footsteps, has dedicated his life to educating people about wildlife, and he knows better than anyone that animals can be unpredictable. While handling the snake for the cameras, he was calm and composed until the python suddenly lunged forward and bit him right in the face. You can almost feel the tension as the snake snaps, reminding everyone that no matter how experienced you are, the animal kingdom always has surprises. Robert quickly explained that the snake wasn't acting out of aggression, but was simply defending itself, as it didn't have any venom to rely on. Despite the lack of fangs or venom, the bite still left its mark. He laughed it off, saying he got a little too close before cleaning up the wound. Even for someone who grew up around animals, moments like these prove that nature is always unpredictable and sometimes painful. If you thought that bite was bad, wait until you see what happens when a venom specialist gets too close. Number 10. Venom extraction fail. When handling a snake known for its deadly bite, even professionals can find themselves on the edge of disaster. In 2010, George Van Horn, a seasoned herpetologist at the Reptile World Serpentarium in St. Cloud, Florida, was performing a routine venom extraction from an eastern rattlesnake. Now, we all know rattlesnakes don't play around. They're one of the deadliest snakes out there, with a venomous bite that can be lethal if not treated quickly. George had done this countless times before, but on this particular day, things didn't go as planned. While extracting the venom, George got a little too close, and before he knew it, the rattlesnake lashed out, sinking its fangs into his hand. Even for someone as experienced as George, a bite from a rattlesnake is no small matter. Luckily, the Serpentarium was fully equipped with anti-venom, and he was treated almost immediately, saving him from what could have been a much worse situation. The snake might have just been giving a warning, or maybe it wasn't in the mood to share its venom that day. Either way, this bite was a reminder that nature is unpredictable, even for the pros. The challenges continue as we explore another harrowing encounter with a massive snake. Number 9. Giant python gets too close to animal keeper. Imagine working with snakes every day, knowing that at any moment one could turn on you. That's the reality for snake handlers, and this next encounter shows just how risky the job can be. In August 2019, a snake shelter worker found himself in a dangerous situation when a giant python decided to get a little too close for comfort. The video captures the moment the handler was trying to interact with the python, likely thinking it was just another routine day. But suddenly the massive snake lunged right at his chest. Thankfully, this python wasn't venomous, so the bite itself wasn't life-threatening. Still, it was far from a pleasant experience. But the real trouble started when the handler attempted to pick the snake up again, only for it to start wrapping itself around him, slowly tightening, as if preparing to make him its next meal. Fortunately, the handler managed to control the situation and get the snake back into its enclosure. But the message was loud and clear: the python wasn't in the mood for handling that day. If handling snakes at work is dangerous, just wait until you see what happens on this reality TV set. Number 8. Boa constrictor won't let go of Dutch woman's hand. Imagine opening a mystery box, only to find a deadly surprise inside. This happened to one woman in the Netherlands. During a reality show called Real Girls in the Jungle, contestants were tasked with facing their fears, and one unlucky contestant found herself face to face with a boa constrictor. As part of the challenge, the woman opened the box expecting something terrifying, but not quite ready for what was inside. As soon as the lid came off, she was met with the sight of a large boa constrictor, and things quickly spiraled out of control. Instead of backing away, she continued to handle the snake, which turned out to be a huge mistake. The boa constrictor latched onto her hand and refused to let go. Even with 3 handlers on the scene, they struggled to free her from the snake's grip. The entire ordeal was intense, and it took everything they had to finally pry the snake off. The contestant eventually got free, but not without learning a valuable lesson. When it comes to snakes, sometimes it's best to let them be. From reality TV to real life, our next encounter brings danger straight to someone's doorstep. Number 7. Snake peeking out of hiding. You know that feeling when you're so at ease, you forget danger might be lurking nearby? In 2017, Gerald Haywood, visiting his friend in Lawton, Oklahoma, pulled up to the house, thinking it was just another ordinary day. But when he opened the door, he was met by an unwelcome surprise, a 5-foot-long bull snake slithering out of nowhere. The snake lunged at Gerald, striking right near his eye. Fortunately, it missed by a fraction and only grazed his eyelid. Stunned but quick to react, Gerald rushed inside, asking his friend Rodney to drive him to the hospital. Luckily for him, bull snakes aren't venomous, so the injury didn't require serious medical treatment. But still, you've got to admire how fast he acted under pressure. In the end, Gerald walked away safe, but not without a wild story to tell, all thanks to a near miss with this sneaky snake. From homes to the wild, our next story takes us deep into nature's rawest battles. Number 6. Anaconda attacks capibara in the wild. In the wild, it's survival of the fittest, and when a 6-meter-long anaconda spots its next meal, there's little chance of escape. In this intense clip from December 2009, a massive anaconda encounters a capibara, the largest rodent in the world, setting the stage for a deadly showdown. The capibara, which can grow up to 4 feet long and weigh as much as 100 pounds, was minding its business when the lurking anaconda struck. Anacondas don't rely on venom like other deadly snakes. Instead, they use their sheer strength to overpower their prey. Once this giant snake latched onto the capibara, it was game over. The snake coiled around the rodent, squeezing it tighter and tighter until the capibara could no longer fight back. With the size and strength of the anaconda, the capibara had no chance from the moment it was caught. The result? A gruesome yet impressive display of nature at its rawest. But snakes aren't just dangerous on land. Even in the water, they can surprise you, as one fisherman learned. Before we move on, here's today's subscriber's pick. A horrifying encounter unfolded when a woman in her own home became the victim of one of the world's deadliest snakes, a massive python. While she was cleaning, the snake managed to sneak in unnoticed and launched a sudden attack. The chilling footage shows the enormous python coiling tightly around her body, squeezing with crushing force as she desperately fought to keep its head away from her face. With every passing second, the snake tightened its grip, draining her energy and making it harder to breathe. She screamed for help, but no one was nearby to hear her cries. Just when all seemed lost, a neighbor rushed in and managed to loosen the snake's deadly hold with a broomstick. Shaken but alive, the woman survived this terrifying ordeal. How would you react if faced with a similar life-threatening situation in your own home? Let us know in the comments section below. Number 5. A quick stop. Some fishing trips take an unexpected turn, and this one will make you think twice before venturing into a swamp. A YouTuber, while enjoying what seemed to be a peaceful day fishing, had an unwelcome stranger. Instead of sticking to a typical river or lake, this adventurous fisherman chose the unpredictable environment of a swamp, which proved to be a risky decision. Midway through his relaxing trip, he reached out and came face to face with the snake lurking beside him. While it's unclear what type of snake it was, what's surprising is that it didn't attack. Whether it wasn't in the mood to strike or was simply uninterested, it slithered away without causing harm. This close call could have ended much worse, but the man was fortunate. An anaconda usually dominates its prey. Number 4. More than it can chew. In the next clip, you'll see that even the giants of the snake world can have an off day. Here, we witness an anaconda with no venom to rely on, using its sheer strength to try and overpower a baby cow. It sank its teeth into the calf, fiercely struggling to drag it down, but things didn't go as planned for the anaconda. The calf, still standing and panicking, began to thrash around, making it nearly impossible for the snake to get the grip and leverage it needed. The struggle continued, but the anaconda couldn't overpower the young cow. Luckily, some nearby farmers witnessed the dramatic scene and stepped in to rescue the terrified calf before the snake could do any real damage. In this encounter, the snake's usual advantage didn't quite work out. Our next incident takes us into the ocean, where a sea snake faces a dangerous opponent. Number 3. Deep Sea Encounter. Even in the depths of the ocean, the battle for survival is fierce. In this rare encounter off the coast of Indonesia, a sea snake took on a deadly opponent, a moray eel. The tension builds as the snake slithers into a coral reef, biting into a hidden hole, and out comes the eel. What followed was a brutal underwater clash, with both creatures fighting for dominance. As the fight unfolded, it became clear that the sea snake had met its match. Despite a valiant effort, the eel's strength proved too much, and the snake was forced to retreat. In the end, the moray eel swam away victorious, likely with quite the tale to tell its underwater companions. It's not just humans who fear snakes, other animals have to defend themselves too, and in this case, the moray eel proved it wasn't going down without a fight. From the depths of the ocean back to the surface, surprises can lurk anywhere. Number 2. Snake in a pond. A casual fishing trip can take a wild turn when you're venturing into waters you didn't realize were snake-infested. YouTuber couple Cole and Jay were documenting their day of fishing when things got unexpectedly dangerous. As Cole reached into the water, she found more than just fish. A snake was slithering beneath the surface. Despite the surprise, Cole decided to pull the snake out, but it wasn't too happy about being disturbed. It snapped at her hand, biting repeatedly while she and Jay continued to admire their unusual catch. Thankfully, the snake was non-venomous, but it still managed to leave Cole with a few bites, eventually requiring stitches. After getting a closer look at their feisty find, the couple decided to release it back into the water and tend to Cole's wounds. Our final story takes us beneath the city streets, where an ordinary fishing trip turns into a battle with a colossal serpent. Number 1. Sewer fishing gone wrong. Ever think you're out for a casual fishing trip only to stumble upon something way bigger than expected? That's exactly what happened in June of 2019, when a group of friends in Miami decided to try their luck at sewer fishing. What they pulled up was far from a fish, it was something much more terrifying. These content creators, all set with their gear, picked the perfect sewer spot and tossed in their bait, eager to see what they could catch. But when things started moving, they quickly realized this wasn't going to be your average catch. Instead of doing something risky, like opening the sewer themselves, they made a smart move and called their friend Jacob, who knew a thing or two about dealing with snakes. Jacob bravely ventured into the sewer, and as the tension built, everyone watched in shock. Slowly but surely, Jacob spotted the snake, a colossal 15-foot-long serpent, lurking in the dark. Calmly and with precision, he carefully pulled it out, revealing its full size. The camera captured every nerve-wracking second as the snake's enormous body came into view. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.